What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. It is Finish Strong Friday, and we got a big show today. Welcome to Standing Out. Let's go. And welcome, everybody. Trey Griggs here at Beta Consulting Group for episode 196 of Standing Out. We are marching right along towards episode 200, which is going to happen on Thursday next week, December 8th, 10:30 a.m. Central, with guest host and new father of four, just having twins. Matt Leffler is going to be hosting that show with me, and we're going to have a ton of fun. We'll have some giveaways. We'll celebrate 200 episodes. We'd love for you to join us, so make sure you make a plan to be here 10:30 a.m. Central on Thursday for that show. Welcome, Coleman. Good to see you, my friend. Yes, if you're in the comments, tell us where you're watching from today and throw us a few comments throughout the show as we have a great conversation with our guest today. Before we get to that, though, got to give a little shout out to our sponsor, to TAF, so the good guys in freight factoring. They're helping small carriers and owner-operators keep those wheels turning with cash flow resources, discounts on fuel and tires, and so much more. Great information to help you become profitable behind the wheel. And listen, if you are behind the wheel, thank you so much. We appreciate all that you do, the heroes of the supply chain. So thank you very much for that. Go to task.com, let them know that Trey sent you, and be sure to check them out and get started today. You can also make it easy on yourself and just click on the link that Ruth is going to put into the comments today, so that you can click on the link and go directly to my landing page so they know that I sent you. You got to get credit for this, folks, so help me out in that regard. While you are surfing the internet, check us out at betaconsultinggroup.com. We are helping logistics companies and logistics technology providers move out of the realm of obscurity to becoming a well-known and trusted brand in order to grow revenue. We'd love to work with you. So fill out a form, we'll follow up with you and start that conversation today. And while you're on the website, click on that swag store button and go check out the swag that we have. We'd love for you to support what we're doing here and pick up some swag. And we got a new coupon code because it is December. So the coupon code is Merry Christmas. We're giving you 25% off your entire order by putting that in at the checkout. So Merry Christmas is a coupon code. And when you get your swag, send us a picture of it. We'd love to see it, celebrate with you. And again, thank you for the support. All right, listen, we've had a phenomenal week of shows this week. You can catch all of them on demand on our YouTube channel. So go back and check all of them out. Some incredible conversations this week. But I'm super excited about this one today. Got a friend on the show. He's been here once before, but it was a long time ago. And so I'm excited to have him back. And he's got a few new things going on. He is the new Chief Commercial Officer over at Highway. Please welcome to the show my good friend, Michael Caney. Michael.
Hey, what's up, man?
Great to see you, man. How are you?
I'm well. It's good to see you.
Man, I've been looking forward to this show for a long time because, we talk offline, we get a chance to communicate. And I remember when, before you went to Highway and then once you went to Highway, just watching that journey that you had, just incredibly excited for you. So take a quick moment, tell everybody who may not know you a little about yourself and what is going on over at Highway.
Yeah, man. Thank you. So for anybody that doesn't know me, I've been in this business since 2004 and have done
almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Coming up.
Years. Yeah, it's like that weird high school reunion when you're like, oh, has it been that long? Okay.
It goes fast.
Yeah. And so I've been mostly in operating companies, Trey, but also just enough time in technology and some other things to be dangerous. But really my passion is, I came up as a broker. I started as a cradle to grave guy, two phones on my desk, booking freight, talking to customers. And so I just have a real passion for helping brokers. So when I haven't been running operating companies, I've run a consulting business off and on for 10 years where I work with brokers. And so that's kind of what led me to Highway, was working with Jordan Graft on kind of go to market and what's going on with brokers. And we just kept talking. And like you and I were talking before the show, sometimes things just fit really well. And man, love Jordan and what he's doing. Love the team at Highway. And so since we last talked, at least publicly, I've hired somebody to run my other business, and that's still going. And so I give about 99% of my attention to Highway now.
Yeah, no, I love it. And Jordan Graff, can't speak highly enough about him and his wife, Brittany, and their team. I got to meet them in their office about 2 weeks ago down in Dallas, which was really fun to be in the office, which is awesome. But
my old hometown, man, it's weird. It's weird seeing all
Dallas.
Yeah, it's where I grew up. I grew up in Dallas, Texas.
Is your family still there? Do you still have family back there?
Yeah, I've got some family there.
Oh, nice. At least when you go back, you can stay with family or see them. Maybe you don't want to stay with them, but see them at least. So that could be good. Yeah. So I got the chance to I got to hang out with them, but I want to go back to when we first met. So you were in a brokerage when we first met. I was calling on you as a vendor. I remember at that time. I got to know you a little bit during that. Then you had time at Freight Waves. You've been doing some other things from a go-to-market strategy. What is it about a startup that is really attractive to you? What is it that you love about that?
Well, it's a really good question. I don't think startups in general are attractive to me. I think they get a lot of hype that I don't appreciate. Like all startups are created equal and they're all fun and they're all, ping pong tables and espresso machines and
Still waiting on mine to be delivered.
And like swimming in other people's money, right? Like,
yeah.
But I do particularly appreciate startups and even more specifically founders that are doing really good work, trying to solve a really important problem, right? Like meaningful things. Founders that are acutely aware of playing with other people's money and the stewardship that goes with that and the need to really impact, right? So like I've been in this enough, Trey, where I've seen a lot of startups that are vaporware. I've sat through a lot of demos where people will call me and they go, "We want to demo this really exciting thing. We need you as an advisor." And they're showing me a deck. And I'm like, "So great, open up your environment and show me how it works." Wow. And so when you see a startup that's got a proven founder, solves a real problem, like that I as an operator can go, "Oh, I wish I would have had that or thought of it," right? Has the right team, the right board. Like there's a lot of things about startups that if you look at them, it takes multiple factors to make them successful. When I looked at Highway, they literally had all those boxes checked. You got a proven founder, you got a great board, you got the right capital, and it solves a really important problem for operating companies, both small and enterprise.
Yeah. I think just to put that into a nutshell, I really think it comes down to the founder. I really do. Like that's where it all starts. I mean, if you have a great founder who's, like you said, proven, knows what he's doing, to me, that's step number one. But to me, the other thing too that I really love about Highway is I heard from their customers before I ever actually heard about Highway. I heard from their customers about Highway before I ever talked to Jordan and the team. And to me, that speaks volumes when your customers are, unsolicited, sharing how great a product is and what it's solving, what it's doing for them. And that's how it worked out. That's kind of how I got connected with Jordan and with Highway and what they're doing is through a customer. And again, you have that and the other things that you mentioned as well. Yeah, because not all startups are equal. That's for sure. That's exactly right. Michael Sternberg, good to see you, man. Well, if you help tell us what we need, we'll build it for you. That's often what happens. Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you. Startups aren't all created equal. The founders is really important. But you're somebody who also really loves to move with speed, and I want to talk about that for a minute when it comes to startups and fast growth. What are some of those critical elements that help a startup grow quickly but responsibly, not irresponsibly?
Yeah, I mean, I think early you've got to be able to do two things. You have to have a team that's willing to wear multiple hats, right?
Yeah.
Now, the other side of that is you have to know when to stay in your lane and trust other people, right? So, like, I'll spend time talking about product and different things like that. Like, I don't own that. Like, that's not my decision. Brendan Bailey runs that. He's incredibly competent.
Great dude. Yeah, great dude.
And so it's like you got to know in a startup, I may have to do a lot of different things, but I've got to be situationally and self-aware to know where to stop and really focus on what I have to deliver. In a startup, it's really important. The most important thing early is customer experience. You can't afford too many fails, Trey. Right? Like early, the way that you deliver to a customer really, really matters. Keeping your word, doing what you say. And so that's an internal thing, right? Like you mentioned it publicly, so we'll talk about speed of trust, like the 4 cores of credibility, right? One of those things is like results. Whatever area you're responsible for in the startup, you better deliver a result because the dependency by the rest of the team is huge. But you just can't afford to like be bureaucratically slow in a startup. There's just too much riding on it. Does that make sense?
It makes a ton of sense. I've been thinking about the word value a lot as a startup, founder. Like what value are you actually providing? Because that's what you're going to get paid for, especially as a startup, and that money can dry up quickly if you're not providing value.
I would say the other thing too is like speed to decision. You have a few people making many decisions early in a startup, and so you've got to make them fast, and you got to bat at least 70%. like in a larger company, there's committees and you got to talk to 10 people and 14 lawyers have to get involved, right? Like in a startup, it's like Jordan and I may talk and we go, okay, we got 4 decisions to make right now. What are we going to do? And it's just done and it's on to the next thing, right? And as a CEO, he's doing that 5 times a day, right? And so the ability to make decisions quickly and trust each other in a startup team, I would say is above all else.
Yeah. And I think my favorite thing that you just said is you got to bet 70%. I think a lot of times we have a fear of missing, right? And it often creates paralysis because you're afraid to make a decision, but you're giving yourself a little bit of grace there. Like you don't have to bet 100. You need to bet about 70%, which means that you're going to make some mistakes, and that should free you up from hopefully making mistakes and figuring those out along the way, but you still have to get the majority of them right.
Yeah.
But you have to get them all right. I think that's
it's calculated risk, right, Trey? Like, okay, if this goes bad, what's it cost? Can I afford it? Can I move on? Like, can I allow myself to move on and not beat myself up or the team up? And it's like, okay, we're going to try this. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we've hedged in these ways and it's okay.
Yeah. It's important to, I think, just have that perspective. It's really, really critical. By the way, I just realized that we are wearing the same outfit today.
Yeah.
Black shirt with the white. We got the
universe alignment, man. It's alignment.
So let's transition for a minute and talk specifically about Highway. I want to give a little love to Highway and make sure people understand exactly what you guys do. I know that Jordan did a great job at the Technovations conference about a month ago, up on stage at the Shark Tank event, talking about exactly what Highway does. But I want to give you a chance to give a little pitch about Highway and talk specifically about what problem you guys are solving.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So oftentimes when a broker thinks about how they engage with a motor carrier, it tends to be kind of siloed, right? Like I've got to onboard them. I got to get them into my system, right? And then once they're into my system, like how do I engage with them, right? And so for a lot of carriers, for a lot of brokers, there's still a lot of like carrier reps with notebooks. Like that still really exists. Like I've worked on some of the top TMS systems that don't do a good job of like capturing lane data and providing capacity. I'm like, how do you, like, this is like the core of brokerage. How do you not do this? Right. And then the other piece is that onboarding piece, like fill out a web form, click, contract. All of those things are kind of tired in a way. Like it was what we had for a long time and now there's a better way. So really Highway's kind of 4 things. 1, insights and enablement. So Highway has the richest equipment portfolio of anybody. If they have a DOT or an MC number within our Insights product, there's a profile on that carrier, right? We have an enriched profile. So anybody that's used like Zoom Info or is familiar with like data enrichment, we have enriched profiles on about 280,000 carriers, which means you're going to log in and you're going to see VIN verified equipment information, insights data, address data. It's going to be surfaced and it's the richest thing you can get. All that data is available via API. So number 1, insights and enablement. Use your carrier sales team, sourcing, vetting, building your own secret sauce, powering your AI engines, all that stuff, insights and enablement. Second thing would be identity, right? So from that bedrock, Trey, comes how do we establish a carrier's unique identity, a unique thumbprint, right? So it would be really weird if you or I signed up for something and had to like enter an email and a password. Like we just use our iPhone and hit sign in with Apple or sign in with Google and things just happen, right? Or like with your credit report, like when you go to establish credit, they're like, are you Trey? Was this your last known address? Like, do you own this? Like they just know stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
So Jordan, coming from banking and SOC 2 compliance, all that stuff, very similar approach. While we're giving value to brokers, we also want to give tremendous value to carriers in that we will establish their own unique digital thumbprint for them on the internet. So from our insights and our enablement comes our ability to establish the identity of a carrier. We look at their movement, we look at their digital footprint, we look at their FMCSA data, put them through a series of challenges. And once they're in Highway, they have that unique experience. They can use sign in with Highway with anyone that's integrated with us. No email, no passwords, it's done, right? We monitor.
And I would think that quality carriers love that. They would love that. The bad carriers are obviously not going to love that, which is
they do.
The point. Yeah.
So, and it's real important for me to pause here and say, like, we are not a load board. We are not a marketplace. We do not do digital freight matching. Like we have a very, Chris Orlob put a post out the other day. He was the CRO or CMO, I don't know, something that helped scale Gong, and they got like a $7 billion valuation. And one of the things he talked about was like, know who your customer is, right? So any broker that's listening, like, I'm not going to go sell your stuff to shippers, right? There's not some like secret play here to build a marketplace. Like, our market is to brokers to help them better connect with their carriers. Right? So once a carrier's in highway, like if they want to log in with 50 brokers that all have a different parade or neutral or whatever, they can use our single sign-on experience, and they don't have to memorize 50 passwords for 50 different broker portals.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, think about how like no one interacts with the world that way, Trey.
No, I mean, I had to create new passwords and try to remember them. Yeah. I mean, 100%.
So some of it's just modernizing, right? And then from there, the onboarding piece just becomes a click. Like once the identity is established, that's really the important piece. So
Right.
today brokers do that. Today brokers do that inside their four walls. They're logging into about 3 websites using their current onboarding platform and teaching their compliance people and their carrier sales people to be a detective. We pull all that friction out. So by the time they get to your agreement, that's done. We have a team of support people that do that. All that friction moves outside of the 4 walls. So then the onboarding piece just becomes sign the agreement, right? And then you've got access to their data. We integrate with Motive, Samsara, Trucker Tools. So track and trace is all automatically integrated. And then the insurance monitoring is kind of table stakes, right? You got to do that. So we're monitoring insurance certificates. And one thing that we do that's really unique than any other vendor is we're looking at scheduled auto data. So verifying those VIN numbers and showing if there's a discrepancy between claimed equipment. Like if somebody says they got 50 trucks and they have 3 scheduled trucks, probably a problem.
Yeah.
Right. So so you get that from us too. So those are kind of 4 things, right? Insights enablement, our equipment portfolio, carrier identity that establishes their identity and uses 2-factor authentication to give them a single sign-on experience, insurance monitoring, and onboarding. Those are kind of 4 areas of our product.
And there's technology out there that does some of these things. What I love about what Jordan has done, and I tend to think this way when it comes to home remodeling, so I'll use this analogy. I love to go into a home and I love to go, why did they put that there? That doesn't actually flow. That doesn't make sense. Let's change this, or let's enhance this to way, and maybe it should have been done or it makes sense. And I feel like that's what Jordan has done with this process is he looked at it and went, why aren't we doing this? Or why aren't we doing that? And he's just taken what was existing and then added onto it his background, especially in finance. I think that's really critical for him with verification. That's been really critical. And I really think, there's always, you never know, but there's always seems like sometimes there's a piece of technology that comes along that really changes the game. This one seems like a game changer. So I'm excited.
No, I remember when Jordan showed it to me and I was like, kind of wish I'd have thought of that.
Where has this been? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I have to just give a shout out to Jordan as well. I can't say enough about him. To me, the leader of tech, when I was selling technology and as I thought about technology in the industry and as I talk to brokers now about technology, I think the leader and the leadership team of a piece of technology is just as important, if not more important than what the technology actually does, because they're the ones that control the future. They're the ones that control the roadmap. They're the ones that control the company. And so that's my biggest excitement about Highway is the fact that Jordan is leading it. You guys, he's building a great team. So
I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's really good. Oh, and you're on it, so you got to agree with it, right? I mean, you got to.
It'd be really weird for me to say, I don't think so.
Yeah. What's up, Samantha Jones? Good to see you. Samantha's got a podcast coming out, Coffee with Samantha or something like that. Have coffee with me, something like that. So if you're not following Samantha Jones out there, everybody, please do that. Got to give her a little bit of love, which is great. Let's transition for just a minute. We got to pause because every day on this show, Michael, we do something kind of fun. We celebrate the National Day. Now, some days it makes sense, like Thanksgiving or Veterans Day, but then other days it's kind of a weird national day. Do you know what today's National Day is?
I don't. I knew this was coming. I should have looked it up. I don't know, Trey.
All right. So today's National Day is National Bartender Day. Have you ever been a bartender? I could see.
Have I ever been a bartender?
Yeah. Have you ever been a bartender?
I've spent too much time with bartenders, but I've never been.
I could see you being a good bartender, and I think that's one of the best places to find a future employee potentially as a bartender or a server. But it's National Bartender Day out there. But I think it's a fun job. It's a hard job. It's a late night job. But shout out to all the bartenders out there. Do you like beer? Do you like wine? Are you not a drinker at all? Where do you fall on the line there?
Yeah. So I don't drink, but when I did not discriminate. We'll just say that.
You're equal opportunity
Yeah.
drinker. Is
Yeah.
what you were. Yeah, I don't drink as well, but I love being at bars just because it's a bunch of people. The energy's great, so I have a good time at bars. But I don't drink as well. I have either water that kind of maybe looks like scotch, or I'll have like a Diet Coke with grenadine or something with a cherry in it.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks like I've got a drink,
Yeah.
but I don't have a drink. And I guess my personality is such that I can get along with people who are drinking. So.
Uh-oh. Did I freeze or did you freeze?
Is one other thing that we do is the random question of the day. All right. So every day we put out a random question. It's so random. I haven't seen it yet. We let our podcast director put this together. It could be funny, it could be serious. I have no idea. So let's go ahead and look at the random question of the day. It is, what is the ugliest vegetable? Okay. All right. What's the ugliest vegetable? I'll tell you the one that I feel the worst for. Can I answer first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, it's the squash. Because it looks like somebody who's overweight. It just kind of has the it goes down and just it's not a thin fruit. It just looks like an overweight or a vegetable. So I'm going to go with squash.
I would have to. So the first thing that came to my mind was cauliflower.
Huh?
Like there's just like it's kind of like
it's like albino broccoli.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, man. You're just kind of plain. And you're all cratered, and like I just don't, I gotta mash you or roast you or do something with you. That was the first thing that came out. I don't know. I'm sure there's a really ugly vegetable out there though. Like,
there probably are some, yeah. But I'm gonna go with the squash because it just kind of looks like somebody that just gained a few extra pounds. So I'm gonna go that route. But interesting question. In the comments, let us know what you think the ugliest vegetable is. Love to hear what that is. And Jason Rabin, yes, there is a demo available for Highway. I'll connect you with you guys later. So Jason's a good friend of mine, and we'll make sure that you get that demo, buddy. So thanks for joining the show. All right, let's get back to it real quick. So I want to talk a little bit about the entrepreneurship journey because even though you're with Highway, you're still an entrepreneur, and that mindset is incredibly beneficial when you're running a startup. But let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurship journey. And particularly what we talked about before the show is one of the blessings of being an entrepreneur is the ability to be a little more selective on who you work with. Like you have some options there, but talk a little about, your journey and what you've learned from that that's helping you out now.
Yeah, man. I think, for me, like I know guys that are, you might call serial entrepreneurs, really good at raising capital, starting a bunch of businesses. And there's parts of me that envy those folks. So for me as an entrepreneur, it's really more about, I want to control my own destiny. I've never been a paycheck guy. And so that just means you end up being some type of an entrepreneur or working in some type of an entrepreneurial environment, right?
Yeah.
So by the time a company gets to a certain stage where you're just kind of going along for the ride, like one of the things we talked about, I think maybe on your show was like, you got to know how you're built. Right. And like, I'm just not built that way.
Yeah.
The other thing I've learned as an entrepreneur is I really like building things for other people. So the other business that I'd started, I have a friend that just alignment, he wanted to do something different, wanted to get into kind of what I was doing. And I was like, well, I'm about to transition to doing something else. I need to be involved in strategy, but on the day-to-day, like I need somebody. And so like, I get a ton of enjoyment out of helping him build that thing for him, for his career, his enjoyment, watching him flourish. I believe in what Jordan's doing, I believe in what Brennan are doing. So if I can come along and kind of power the revenue side of that business, like that's what I like about being an entrepreneur is the opportunity to get with people. I'm probably more a people guy than I am just a pure business guy. And what does it look like to help people get what they want? I just get a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, I think that we're a lot alike in that regard because I tend to think about the people side of business more than the revenue side of business. And for good or bad, I don't know what kind of an entrepreneur that's going to make me in the long run, but I tend to think the same way of like, how can I make a really great environment for the people on my team and for our customers and just build something that is special for them? I always felt like as my job as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, was to make sure I was helping everybody else build their dream now. I think too often we look at CEOs and feel like as workers that we're just helping them build their dream, and that never feels good. But when you feel like your CEO is helping you build whatever your dream is, maybe it's to buy a new home for the first time, or to take a big trip you've been thinking about, or to start your own business someday, or whatever it might be, I think it changes the entire mood of a company. And I love that aspect of it. I think you're very similar in that regard, doing that, which is.
Yeah. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, there is a difference in, look, man, I have been sent a ton of pitch decks and looked at TAM numbers and all of these different assessments, that some Stanford kid or some Ivy League kid looked at transportation and looked at some numbers and thought they were going to save the world. Right. And I think the key difference in what we're doing is either as an operator or as someone in finance and payments that spent years looking at user tables, like we have lived the problems that we solve at Highway. Like I literally know what it's like to like put the training deck together on how to bust a carrier. Like I remember when I had Cassandra Gaines like come in and do like a full day seminar and teach my people like, here's how to look out for
look at this,
right?
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
I mean, because it was constant, right? And if you're an owner of a company, like, you know, this Trey, like there's a certain point where as an owner, your job becomes to manage risk. Like I think TIA does seminars every year at the conference that's some version of, as an owner, your job is now to manage risk, right? So contract reviews, all that kind of stuff. And so like I've lived those problems, like lived them, know what it's like, know how disruptive it can be to the business, right? Know how disruptive it can be when you're trying to book freight, right? So, you know, as a startup, as an entrepreneur, we're solving problems that we've lived before, not something that just seems like a good idea in an investor thesis.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of freight brokers in 2022, especially in the last 2 or 3 months. And the number one problem that they're having in 2022 is double brokering. Yeah. Without a doubt. That's the number one problem that they've had this year. It's just been worse. They said worse than other years that they can remember, which stands out because it's not a new problem, but it's one that has really accelerated here in 2022. So I think you're right on with that regard. What are some of the things that you've learned along the way from a leadership perspective as an entrepreneur that you think are really going to help you out in this opportunity with Highway, or that you would share with other people who are on that entrepreneurial journey?
Oh man. Yeah. So I think at different points of my Trey, you always know how to ask me these like vulnerability questions. You know, I think early when you're an entrepreneur or in an entrepreneurial environment where there's a ton of pressure, the temptation is to be the point. I got to do things. I got to get things done. And you inevitably care way too much about yourself and your own ego. And because there's a natural fear, like if I don't perform, this could suffer, right? What I've learned the hard way is to just slow down, give away, you know, sometimes I like to go fast and I do go fast. Sometimes slow is fast, right? So give away credit, build consensus, care about the people around you, right? Learn, right? And you ultimately will go faster. So build trust, right? I like to say, you know, move fast and break things. Okay. Don't move fast and break people. Break things, break processes, kill sacred cows, but don't break people, right? And I've been the entrepreneur and seen the entrepreneurs that move so fast, they break everything in their path. Everything.
Yeah.
And that becomes detrimental. So there's a fine line there when it comes to speed. And luckily, like our team, like Jordan's really good at that. Like he'll take a high activator and put them with someone that's a really good process person. And so for me, what's really helpful for me in the current company is there are things I'm like, okay, cool. I literally suck at that, but she's really good at it. So I don't have to worry about it. And that's really refreshing, right? To know how you're built, know what you're not good at, and be willing to go, I'm not good at it. Please, somebody help me with this. Not good at that. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. And I felt that pressure this year as well, where, when you get under pressure, you feel like you need to do all the work, or that nobody can do it as good as you, which is, such a lie, because, typically we're only good at a couple things, like really good at a couple things. And knowing what those are and giving them away. Delegation is always a challenge when you're an entrepreneur, because you tend to think, I've got to do this, like you said. I think there's a lot that can be learned about that. And those are kind of the speed bumps I'm going through right now. And so I appreciate you sharing that, but it's a real thing. It really is a struggle. It's really a challenge, that's for sure. All right. Final words. We've had a great show. We've had some good comments. Michael just says, was listening to a podcast with Reed Hastings this morning and thought this quote was relevant. I'll read it out. Make your people the hero of their own story, in reference to leading and managing teams. I like that. That's a good thought on that. What are your final thoughts here as we wrap this baby up?
Oh man. How fast things are changing. Like I've done your show a couple of times in the last several months, and like things change really fast. So my final thoughts are, even in a slow market, different market, whatever we're calling 23, keep changing. Like, don't batten down the hatches and do nothing. Like, keep moving. If you're a business leader, like respond to a different environment, but keep moving. Like your life is in the movement. Keep moving.
I love that. And I'm going to finish up with this because I put a poll out on LinkedIn. I asked people what they were going to do from a marketing perspective with their budget when things slow down. And I was excited. 70% of people said they're either going to increase their budget or keep it the same, which means they're not slowing down in terms of that aspect. And I would include that in the rest of your business as well, from a sales perspective, from, process improvement perspective, just to keep moving and to get things better. I think that's a great word to end on. Michael, it's always a pleasure having you on the show, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. I'm excited about what you guys are doing. Can't wait to have you on again in the new year to hear what's going on with Highway Q1, Q2 next year. And thanks again for being a part of it. Everybody watching the show, thanks, Trey. Appreciate it, man. And make sure you come back on Monday. We've got Erica Rice on the show. We're going to do a swag eval because she's the first year. So we got to talk all about swag. But have a great weekend. Don't forget, it is Friday. So we have Word on the Street in 1 hour with our guest, Gunnar Miller. So make sure you come back here in 1 hour to watch that with the Street Crew. It's going to be a great time. We will see you guys soon. Have a great weekend. Mike, thanks so much, man. Talk soon.
Thanks, man.